Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Let me start like this. You probably heard 100 people talk about just lock in, just study harder, just do more questions. But what they keep forgetting to tell you is the actual method you need to pass the Naplex and step into your career as a pharmacist this year. And today, I'm going to give you that method. Not the motivational fluff, not the try again next month type of energy. I'm talking about a real, teachable, repeatable approach to move you from that PharmD to the RPh. So if you are watching this and you've been stuck in the same cycle, you know that cycle where you start strong, you fall off, you panic, you switch your resources, you try to catch up, and then the exam comes and your confidence just collapses. I want you to hear me clearly. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not even behind in the way that you think that you are. You are simply missing structure. You're missing pharmacist level thinking. And this is the part that nobody tells you about. This is the part where nobody really wants to say out loud what you may be battling, and this is what I call academic fraud syndrome. Now I'm going to explain that in a second, but first, before we get into this video, into this training, I want you to do me a simple favor. If you are ready to stop repeating the same study cycle and actually move forward, I want you to type the words March 4th in the comments. Type it now. Type it now, because this isn't just a training, a video. This is like a line in the sand. And I need you to decide today. Are you going to keep circling the same mountain? Are you going to march, or are you going to March 4th and finish what you started? Okay? Now let's talk about what we're really here for. The Naplex is just not another school exam. It's part of licensure, and it exists to assess whether you are competent enough to practice safely as an entry-level pharmacist. That's why you can have the degree and still struggle. And if that statement stung a little, good, because it means we're finally telling ourselves the truth. And here is the truth. If it were only about having the degree, if it were only about effort, if it were only about being taught this in school, you would have already passed. But the Naplex is different. The blueprint is literally designed for entry-level pharmacy practice. Knowledge, judgment, and skills you are expected to demonstrate at an entry-level pharmacist. And the content outline itself describes as it's developed through a diverse panel of practicing pharmacists who have analyzed its entry-level practices. So yes, this is for pharmacists by pharmacists in the most practical sense, which means the real question isn't how do I study more? The real question is how do I study, test, and think like a pharmacist? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now quick check in, okay? If you ever said to yourself, I feel like I should know this already, type me in the comments. If you ever thought, what if I pass pharmacy school, but I'm not really a pharmacist, type me in the comments. If I ever felt embarrassed that you might need another attempt, type me in the comments. Okay, good. Because now we're going to talk about the thing that's hiding underneath this studying, the academic fraud syndrome, and why it's so quietly sabotaging your score. Now let's define what I mean by academic fraud syndrome. I'm not talking about cheating, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the feeling that deep in your chest, like you are an intellectual fraud, like you don't belong, like you're going to be found out, that this closely aligned with research calls the imposter phenomenon, imposter syndrome. Sometimes, it's that. It shows up as a self-doubt about your abilities and a feeling that you don't deserve what you earn, even when there's evidence that you do, like your degree, okay? And here why this matters for your Naplex prep. Because when you feel like a fraud, you don't study like a registered pharmacist. You study like someone trying to prove you deserve to be in the room. And that creates a specific set of behaviors. You begin to overthink everything. You second guess what you already know. You keep switching resources because you think the problem is the book, when the problem is your confidence. You avoid practice questions because you don't want to see what you don't know. Or you do questions, but you do them in a panic mode, and you can't learn from your mistakes because every missed question feels like a verdict of your identity. Now I want to ground this in a real evidence-based reality for a second. In a pharmacy education literature, there's data showing that imposter feelings are not rare. One study even cited that a pharmacy education commentary found that 58% of pharmacy students have frequent or intense imposter feelings. And in the professional pharmacy organizations also discussed imposter syndrome as is very common among pharmacy learners and the trainees. So if you've been quietly thinking, why am I the only one struggling like this? You're not. You're not at all. So let's connect the dots to performance. This high imposter feelings are commonly associated with anxiety and psychological distress. And test anxiety, especially on these high-tech exams like the Naplex, is not just a feeling. It has measurable relationships with performance outcomes across many contexts. Even there was a major data analysis research that showed that anxiety was significantly and negatively related to a wide range of education performance outcomes. That same review also noted that perceived difficulty and high stakes natures of a test is related to high test anxiety. So if you're telling me this exam feels like high stakes, this exam feels like it decides my life, this exam feels like I fail again, I'm done, then it makes sense that anxiety would enter your prep. And anxiety can disrupt performance and your learning if you don't have a system for it. Now let's hit the core truth of this. A big part of what you want to do, and what you want is really to pass in that place. But what you really want is deeper than that. You want to feel worthy of the title before you pass. You want to feel like you belong. You want to feel like, yes, this is for me. And that aligns with the profession talk about as a professional identity formation. You know, internalizing those professional knowledge and the skills and the values and the beliefs, so you begin thinking, acting, and feeling like a member of this professional community. That matters because identity shapes your motivation and confidence in performance tasks. So today, you're not just doing test prep. What we're really doing is going from PharmD to RPh, that transition in your identity. Now let me ask you something. I want you to answer honestly as possible. When you picture yourself passing, what's the first feeling you want to feel? Is it relief? Is it peace? Is it pride? Is it freedom? Is it I finally belong? Type the words in the comments. Okay. Now we build. Now we build. Now we build on the promise and the pivot. You were trained for pharmacy school. I want you to train for the Naplex and how to think like a pharmacist. Because just being taught the material is not the same as being able to operate under Naplex conditions. Those high stakes, those scenario-based pharmacist judgment under pressure. And the good news is this. The Naplex literally gives you the blueprint. It really does. It has a content outline that's meant to help you understand what's assessed, how the exam is developed, and the major content domains. So we're going to stop studying like we're guessing, like we never been to pharmacy school. We're going to start studying. We're going to start studying. We're going to execute. And I want you to do me a favor. If you want the 3 critical steps, type 3 steps in the chat. Well, the comments. Because right now, we're about to shift from this emotional method. We're going to shift from that. Okay? Okay? All right. So, I want you to, first thing I want you to do is, let's get some things situated. One, is that your identity and your nervous system reset. You need that. You need that. Your identity and your nervous system reset. This is where most people skip. This is why most people repeat that same cycle. Because you have the best plan in the world, but you don't believe you belong. You will sabotage. You will sabotage your own follow-through. The research language has tied to this self-efficacy, your belief in yourself to do the goal. It's not enough to have the knowledge and the skills. You also need the execution and the conviction that you can do it. This is what we're saying. And I want to say this now. I have look at me. I thank you for being here because I do have a nasty cold. Okay. And I want to go into this academic fraud. I want to go into that voice that says, you already should know this. You're behind. You're not a real pharmacist. You're going to fail again. Your job is to answer these facts. I earned a PharmD that requires a master in endurance. See, these are these imposter feelings that are common. They are so common. This is that test anxiety that keeps coming up and reaching. But I want you to do this with me. To all these things, I want you to speak this out loud, and yes, out loud. I am not behind. I am building. Say it again. I am not behind. I am building. I am not behind. I am building. Because here's what you do when you do this. You start speaking affirmations to yourself. You start speaking over yourself. You start quieting that little voice to say, hey, I can't do this. You start addressing that shame that you feel. That hurt that you feel. You put a stop into this little voice that say, I can't do it. You put a stop to it. So you say this as much as you need to. Because it's needed. Now, I want to talk about the Naplex content. They provide you, NAVP provides you with an outline that really describes what they're looking for. It analyzes it. And it shows you, even when you read the contents, that you can, the question is, this exam is not asking you, can you remember a lecture? Can you remember everything that was in the video that you watched? But can you really function as an entry-level pharmacist? The outline organizes the major domains into functional knowledge, the professional practice, and pharmacy management leaderships. So the pharmacist thinking, it's not about memorizing all these random facts. But it's about applying information to patient situations, prioritizing safety, making decisions on a time. Okay? Okay? You've been trained like you're still in pharmacy school, but you're not. I want you to train like a pharmacist. I want you to think like a pharmacist. I want you to build your retrieval and decision-making practice, not through just endless reading, but when you're in that pharmacy and that patient comes up and asks you a question, or that doctor comes and asks you your clinical expertise, you can respond quickly. That you know how to respond like intelligent, like you are that person, okay? Because it's so needed. You are that person. I need you to understand it. Because this is needed. It is so needed. And Doc, it's just time. It is time. It's time because you don't study to feel familiar. You study to become functional. Functional. Functional in how you're going to perform as a registered pharmacist. Because pharmacist thinking means you see a question, you identify what's really being asked, and you apply what you know. You go beyond questions. The best plan means nothing if you don't execute it daily. It means nothing. I don't want to sell you any type of guarantee. I want to sell you what really works. And that's daily structure aligned to the blueprint of evidence-based learning behaviors. I want to sell you an environment that supports identity and confidence so you can persist under pressure. I'm going to give you a concrete execution system that you can apply immediately. Immediately. That's what we're about. I think for a lot of times, you've been in this academic fraud syndrome, and you forgot who you are. It's time to rise up. It's time to march forth. It's time to stop switching from resources 3 times, making the pretty notes for 6 hours, rereading the chapters and hoping it's going to stick. Because hope is not a strategy. It's not a strategy at all. I want you to hear this hard truth. It is possible to work hard in the wrong direction. Now, that's not judgment, that's clarity. That is clarity. Your effort has to match what the exam is designed to evaluate. Practical knowledge plus application. That's why I teach study, test, and think like a pharmacist. If you've been stuck in writing these pretty notes in the panic of thinking that your current resource is not good enough, I want you to give yourself permission now. I want you to give yourself permission to try something new, because you're going to take a direction with me. You deserve to know where I'm coming from and what I can do. If you are I want you to accept permission to release those things that no longer serve you. I want you to know this, that your feelings, does not equate to your professional identity, because you do not have this past outcome. Okay? I really want you to join me on March 4th. Join me on March 4th. March 4th. Because this is the moment where you're going to release this academic fraud. You're going to step into the registered pharmacist you thought that you know you are when you first started this journey. It's time. It's time. It's time. I want you to join me on March 4th. Make the next move. It's simple. A simple webinar that's free. And remember what I said in the beginning of this video. If it were only about effort and a degree, you would already pass. So today, we got to shift from this academic fraud syndrome and really train and really focus on how you train as a pharmacist. It's time to let go of the imposter syndrome. It's time to March 4th from PharmD to RPh this year. Sign up for the March 4th webinar if you're ready to start repeating the same study cycle and finally pass. I'm saying this because I want you to get it. Register at LaQuitaJohnson.com/March 4th. The link is also in the comments. It's just time. It's time to move forward. You're not just committing to studying. You're committing to become the pharmacist who execute under pressure. And that matters because the Naplex user says competence to practice. So we train competence. We train judgment. We train application. We train identity. Now let me speak to the person who has watched this video and you are scared. The person who was scared to sign up because you're thinking, what if I try again and I fail? I want you to reframe that. The bigger fear is not failing again. The bigger fear is that you're in the same loop for another year. And if that's you, I want you to hear this. Test anxiety and imposter feelings are not character flaws. They are patterns. And patterns can be trained. Now, before we close, I'm going to give you one final tool. This is your new decision. Your new decision rule, okay? If it doesn't build pharmacist thinking, it's not the move. So when your brain wants to spiral, I need a new resource. I need a new schedule. I need YouTube videos. I need a panic purchase, I need you to stop and ask yourself, does this build pharmacist thinking? Does this align with the blueprint? Does this force retrieval information? If not, it's a distraction. Now type, I'm done distracting myself in the comments if you're ready to move differently. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. You don't need more time. You don't need a better method, because the exam is not asking you to be a student again. It's assessing whether you can function as an entry-level pharmacist using knowledge, judgment, and skills in a practice-aligned way. And if academic fraud syndrome has been whispering to you that you don't belong, I want you to replace that voice with this truth. Imposter feelings are common in high-achieving professionals that show up alongside anxiety, high-take pressure exams that impact your performance outcomes. And this is exactly why you just don't need content. You need coaching, structure, and validation, and an environment that supports your professional identity as you grow into a registered pharmacist. So here's what I want you to do right now. No overthinking. Click the link in the description and sign up for the March 4th webinar. And drop March 4th, so I know I can celebrate you and know that you did it. You're not suffering in silence anymore. Just wait on you to sign up. And if you wait on the sign, this is it. Not to panic, not to quit, not to shame yourself, but to simply March 4th. Because we are marching 4th. And I want to see you in this webinar. And remember, you're not behind, you are building. You belong here. And until next time, remember that pharmacy is on limit if you are. And now go be great, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.